welcome back to today's podcast. Thank you very much for being here. As always, I very much appreciate it. You guys, it's almost Christmas as I record this. And so if you have not gotten your loved ones a gift, you can do that. You can go to farmingwithoutthebank.com and I have a smoking deal. So if you want the bundle, that means Nelson's book and both of my books. So you get 3 books, Becoming Your Own Banker, Farming Without the Bank, Life Without the Bank. It's $10 off, plus you get the Life Without the Bank and the Farming Without the Bank audio for free. And you can share those with people because all you have to do is hit forward, just like you share the book. So you don't have to buy an audio book for every family member. Just buy one and then share them. I'm happy if you share them, as long as they listen, right? If they don't listen, you hit the send button. But just know that right now, and I think we're going to, we'll see how it goes. This deal is supposed to go until Christmas, I believe, is what I'm running it. I should know. I'm the one doing it. However, we have had such a fantastic response that I may extend it to the new year. I don't know. But if you want it for Christmas, go get it now. And we all know that USPS is not the most reliable. So that is how I send all of my books priority. And they're expensive to send that way. It's $9 for shipping. And I actually think it costs us $9 or a little more than $9. But that we send them that way so we have tracking, because guess what? They get lost. So if you are looking for a Christmas gift for somebody that is not a non-farm member or a non-farm family, then go and get the Life Without the Bank. If you want to share it, go get all of them because it's a smoking deal. Okay, on with the podcast. I have to do that first or I forget, you guys. All right, so today I want to talk about fees. And I think that this is so funny because it comes up all the time, and it happened again yesterday. And I thought, well, this might be a good topic for a podcast. Because as soon as somebody hears me talking about whole life insurance or life insurance in general, and they really think that they have this power and that they know all this stuff about life insurance and how bad it is because maybe Dave Ramsey or Susie Orman or somebody said how bad it is, they really feel like they've got one up on me, right? And so it's very funny when they start talking about fees. And if you guys have listened to my podcasts, you know where the fees are. But let's talk about what happens when you are sharing this with somebody and they tell you, well, yeah, there's fees to do that and there's fees to do that, and they're just taking your money because there's fees. So yesterday, I had somebody commenting about, well, where does the company get the money and what are the fees? And he said, so he asked me specifically, when an insurance company lends you money, where do they take that money from? Out of what account? And they take that money out of their general account. And then he came back and said, what goes in the general account? Fees that they charge you? I'm like, fees on what? So I can't elaborate when I don't know what you're talking about, because immediately when you talk about fees, we're already not talking about whole life. And so if you are out there as a general consumer, if you are a client and you are trying to tell people about this and they're talking about fees, the second that the word fees leave anybody's mouth, I'm like, oh, we're not talking about whole life. We're obviously talking about universal life, variable life, indexed ULs. We're talking about something besides whole life. And it happens a lot. people think, well, is there a fee to borrow my money? There is not a fee to borrow your money. There is an interest rate associated with it. But unlike you going to the bank where there are going to be processing fees, there's going to be closing costs, there's going to be all these fees associated with that loan prep, there are no fees for taking a loan from the insurance company. Okay, that is just part of the process. You are able to do that. And then people will think, well, what are the fees that the insurance company is charging you? And I believe that this person thought that I don't really know what they thought, because they were not asking the right questions. They were not using the right words, but they were trying to sound as if they were somewhat knowledgeable on the case. And they weren't. So other people will say, well, what are the fees inside the policy? What is they're obviously charging you fees? I'm like, there aren't any fees because of the fact that there is a cost of insurance. So there is a load cost and there is a cost of insurance. Okay. Those are the two costs inside of a life insurance policy. In a whole life policy, all those costs are built in. In a universal and a variable and an indexed, those come on the outside and they come out of your premium dollars. And then whatever's left goes to pay premium, AKA by death benefit. And so if you read my book, you will see an example in the book that there is a premium load. We have that inside whole life, but it's already built in. Okay. There's a cost of insurance charge. We have that in whole life, but it's already built into the premium. And then there are other expense charges, rider charges. There are management fees. Every company labels them a little bit different. Here is the thing. You will not see a statement every year from a whole life company talking about what the fees are, because they already prefigured those. So when people say, well, whole life is more expensive than universal life, than variable life, than term, it is because in those other products, those fees and cost of insurance and charges were not figured in, or they weren't figured correctly for your premium amount. So now we're going to have cost of insurance excess charges. I saw yesterday, somebody told me to Google Principal Financial. And so I did that. And there is an article that Principal Financial had guaranteed universal life policies. So what that means is they guaranteed that the death benefit will never go down or will never disappear, and they guaranteed that the premium will always stay the same. In a universal life policy, that can be detrimental to a company, and it cost them $2.8 billion in their reserve account. I think it was 2.8 billion in their reserve account, because they did not price their product correctly, but they guaranteed it. So now they have to guarantee there's going to be a life insurance policy there. They're going to pay a death claim, and they cannot raise the premium on the client, just like a whole life policy. But the difference is, in that universal life, we have a market issue, right? Because the money's not guaranteed. We played the market. And so now we didn't make as much. Cost of insurance went up. We priced the product incorrectly. And now we have to go to reserves. Those are the kinds of things that happen in universal life. Those are where those fees come in. And so as soon as somebody says fees, or they, something, or they have a rate of return comment, we're not talking about whole life. And I just did a podcast on the difference between universal, variable, indexed. I shouldn't say just. It wasn't just a couple podcasts back. It was probably 10 or 15 podcasts back. And I know that because I just sent it to somebody, because of the fact that he's got a friend, and this friend is being told to sell universal life for infinite banking, and those two things do not mix, because infinite banking is not about non-guarantees. It's about guarantees. Yesterday, I met with a client and her husband, and the husband is not 100% on board. For whatever reason, he's not trusting. And I said, I ran an illustration for him and said, okay, this is how much you can put in this is what you want to put in every year. This is how much extra you can put in year one. These will be your numbers at ages, whatever ages I rattled off. I went down like 20 years, and then we went down to age 80 or something. And he said, oh, you know those numbers already? And I said, yes, because they're guarantees. And he is very much a market person, and that he has a friend that does market stuff. And so that's where he tends to go, which is 100% fine. But it was his comment was interesting to me, because he said, oh, you already know those numbers. I do already know exactly what you're going to have on the guaranteed side. On the non-guaranteed side, it's not about fees that would be draining your policy. It would be about a dividend that maybe went up or went down. And if that happens, then yeah, we're going to have a little shift in numbers, but we will always have the guaranteed side that no matter what, this is exactly what you're going to get. That does not happen where there are fees and cost of insurance and load charges outside of the policy, not built in. And so there's one thing that's certain in this life, and that's we're going to die, right? No one's getting out alive. And so we need to have certainty that our death benefit is there. We have to, because we're going to die. I want to be certain that my family is going to get a death benefit because I've paid premium in. So many people dislike life insurance because these fees and charges eat it up. And so if you're talking to somebody, or if you're the one listening to this and saying, Mary Jo, you're just full of crap because there are fees and charges and you're not telling us. No, they're not. In whole life, there's not a fee and a charge. It is built, there are no fees. There's cost of insurance charge and there is a load charge, but those are already built in to the policy. The insurance company already knows what those numbers are going to look like. So it's so hard when people are what everybody is hearing, and that's great that they're hearing about fees, and that's great that they're talking about fees. And it's interesting that we're talking about fees and we're mad about fees on a whole life policy, or in life insurance. I shouldn't say on a whole life policy, but in the life insurance arena, we are mad about fees and charges, and we are mad about commission payment. But when we go over and invest in a 401k and an IRA and we give money to a broker, we don't care about fees and charges. Do we ask what their fees are? Do we ask what the charges are? Are we looking at that on our statement? Because things that I've listened to, your fees and your charges and those things are taking 2/3 of your IRA or your 401k. So we're concerned about it on one side, but we're not concerned about it on the other. So if you come to me and say, well, what are your fees? What are your charges? You're going to make all this commission. But yet you have a 401k and an IRA. Do you have any room to talk even? Because you can't be talking out of both sides of your mouth. And the commission piece is just, I think I've done a whole podcast on this. I'm not even going to talk about it. The commission piece is not here or there. Everybody makes money doing what they do. If you want to make the commission, then sign up to be a life insurance agent. All you got to do is take a test. If you think it's so easy, go ahead, do it. I mean, whatever. Everybody makes money doing what they're doing. It is, so if you are somebody listening and you are thinking fees, charges, oh my God, the stock market, you have the wrong product, my friend. It is a different product. If you are talking to somebody and that is what they are talking about, you immediately stop the conversation and say, I am sorry, but I believe that you are talking about universal life, variable life, indexed UL, some kind of universal product. And you are not most likely speaking about whole life, which is guaranteed, and it doesn't have fees. Conversation done. I mean, it's a different animal. It's not the same thing. So unfortunately, it's our job to have to educate those that believe that they know what's happening or have not been taught exactly what this is. Because in most cases, they've just not been taught. Occasionally, they just don't want to see it, but that's pretty rare. Pretty rare. Okay, guys, that's all I had today. That's it. This is a short one. Hope that helped. Hope that makes some sense. Hope that helps you when you're out talking to people. What is happening, why they are shutting you down so quickly. Because in all reality, if you want to share this, you're just being amazing and sharing it. And they may not want to listen. They may have heard one thing and basing it off of that. And so the more knowledge you can have, the better, for sure. And as always, if you have comments, questions, concerns, email me, let me know. I have gotten a lot of emails recently that are about as long as my book. We know it's not that long. I mean, let's be honest. But it is like I have to scroll several times to read the whole email. I absolutely love those, but if you could just shorten those up just a hair. A lot of times, whatever your question is, I am not going to be able to give you advice over email. Like if I don't know your whole story, and even if you think you've given me your whole story in the email, it's still not enough for me. Because remember, I do 1.5 meetings, and an hour of that is basically asking you questions about what's going on. 1:15. So a long email is not going to necessarily answer those questions. And so if you have some generic, easy questions, fantastic. I do love to hear it, but I don't always have time to read all of it. And so if you can shorten those up for me just a hair, I would appreciate that. Otherwise, I look forward to seeing you in a meeting. If you've not got the book, go ahead, get the book now while we have this amazing special going on. And I'll see you in the next podcast.